And so as a result, we want to make sure we work on both. We want to create a system that allows you to succeed in both areas, life and your enterprise. So what I want to really make sure that comes out of this is an evaluation of what your real gifts are that are going to fulfill you. Because many of you are living a script around your life that involves having an enterprise when really that may not be your true nature. That's not to say you can't do it. It just means you can do it and you'll be stressed out of your life, stressed out of your mind. And so one of the things we want to find out is how much of that is natural as a problem, how much of that is maybe unnatural. Unnatural meaning you're having problems right now that you shouldn't be having at this stage of development. The most important element is for you to be able to do this, to be able to establish, most importantly, where you really are in your life today. Where are you? And where do you really want to go? What's going to create this extraordinary life? Because some of you right now, if you continue the direction you're going, are going to be successful and unfulfilled, unhappy, and stressed. Because once we get, into a dream, then that dream starts to take on a life of its own. It gives us juice, it gives us energy. But how many of you ever got the dream, achieved your goal, and then thought, is this all there is? How many of you have this experience? Say, I. That's more painful than not even achieving it. Because now you've done everything, you've worked it out, and you're successful, and you're not happy. So for some of you, you're going to need to take a look at that. Michael Gerber, the guy that wrote the E-Myth, talks about why so many businesses, young businesses fail. And one of the things he says is most people are not really entrepreneurs, but they think that's what they should be. They think that's the sexy thing, that's the most attractive thing, that's the best answer. And what I say to you is you got to separate the vehicle from the outcome. What is it that's going to truly fulfill you? What is it that's going to give you that extraordinary life? What's going to make things magnificent on your terms, not somebody else's terms, not your father, your mother, your background? What is that really? Separate the vehicle, because there's many ways to get to that vehicle. But I'm saying sometimes you got to reevaluate what's going to really make you fulfilled. What is your gift? Are you an artist? Are you the talent that can produce something no one else produces as a skill or a product or a service or some impact? Are you incredibly good at management? You really know how to manage or lead people? Are you an extraordinary entrepreneur that can take that gigantic gut load of risk and can create the vision and attract the talent that you need and the managers and leaders? You may have all three abilities, but which one really fulfills you the most is going to be the critical question. Because we tend to want to do them all, especially in a room like this, because you're all overachievers, right? Me too. And you say, well, I can do all these. Yes, you can, but what will it do to your quality of life? See, again, the secret's going to be this. What is an extraordinary life on your terms today? Getting clear about that. At this stage of life, where you are, where you want to go. At some level, you have a blueprint, a mindset, a belief system, a philosophy, a set of values that says, if I master this thing called my life or my enterprise, then I'll have this great feeling. But what's really interesting about life, I believe that extraordinary life, however you define it, has two master skills to it. The first skill is the science of achievement. Most of you in this room have achieved enormously at various levels of business or as an individual artist or talent or as an entrepreneur or as a manager or leader, as an investor. I mean, everybody in this room, most of you in this room, have really hit the jackpot by most of the world's standards, even though most of you think it's still not enough. But the science of achievement is a skill. It is a science. There are laws. So achievement, even this course, to me, that achievement is, business is a spiritual game. That's what I believe. It's a spiritual practice. A lot of people think it's business. Oh, that's money. That's this horrible thing over there. And that's one of the reasons that they never get really passionate about it. I'm a very spiritually driven, purpose-driven man. But the reason I love business is I see business as the ability to take the invisible and make it visible. I think that is what spirituality and creation is. It's about how can I find the gift I have to give the world? And how can I give it in a way that truly adds value? Not I think adds value, but the people receiving it, they vote with their feet and say, this truly makes a difference in my life. This is something I value. And then because they become a customer again. Because they're thrilled with it. Because they become a raving fan, not just a satisfied customer. Satisfied customers will leave you. Raving fans will stick with you. Now, the second, and remember I said this is a science to achieve, and we're going to go through that science. How do we create a sustainable system that makes that happen? But the second skill of life is less focused on, and if you're going to have not only management, but create and grow an extraordinary life, you've got to master the second. And that second master skill is the art of fulfillment. The art of fulfillment. And the art of fulfillment, I call it an art because art is like what one person thinks is beautiful, somebody else may think is ugly. But what you have to be able to do is find out what is it for you that's going to fulfill you. And I'll tell you there's two primary elements to that. You've got to figure out what is your gift that's going to give you a sense of meaning, because you can't be fulfilled without a sense of contribution. You can feel happy. Happiness for most people is temporary. It's like pleasure. You know, eat a chocolate cake, make love, you know, score a point in the game, you know, get the trophy, you know, take your business to the highest level, make the money. There's a moment in which, or maybe a day or an hour, or I don't know how long it lasts for you, but when you achieve those results, will you feel happy? How many know what I'm talking about here? Say I. And how long does it last? Remember, what makes you successful, what makes you fulfilled, may be two different things. So success without fulfillment, that's called failure. If you know somebody who's got everything they thought they wanted and they're not fulfilled, they got a real problem. So what's going to make you fulfilled? Finding your gift, contribution. Life's not about me, it's about we. If we feel like we're contributing to someone else, then we don't just get something, we become something. And what you get never makes you happy long term. Who you become makes you very happy or very sad. So part of that art of fulfillment is, what's my contribution? The second part of it is appreciation. Some of you are contributing, but you're not taking the time to really appreciate. Meaning is where all life is shaped, and you have the power to change the meaning how fast. But you better ask a better question or come up with a better answer. Find your gift and give it every day with more intensity, more beauty, more love, and more unselfishness, and ironically, you'll fill up even more. You'll feel more love and joy and happiness because you'll love yourself, for God's sakes, regardless of what other people do. And it won't be an ego love yourself where you're lying to yourself so you can make other people think you're a certain way. It'll be you connecting with you. And when you connect with you, it's very easy to connect with the real part of other people. That's what life enterprise management is. I'll give it to you. 3,000-year-old simple phrase. Know thyself. But I'll add one. Then be thyself. You know yourself, but you don't be yourself. You just wasted all your time. That's what we're talking about here. Make sense? Does it sound like something that you're committed to really mastering for your life? Yes, no? Well, give everybody a big hand. To maximize the results of your life and maximize your sense of fulfillment and joy. It's both. In order to do that, we got to change what we focus on from the question of what do I have to do to what's my outcome? What do I want? What's most important to me? What's the result I'm committed to getting? That one change will change completely how you respond in your life, because it'll change you from focusing where everyone's demanding your attention or what you're afraid of or what might give you pleasure in the moment to what's most important to you. And those, by the way, are the three things that get our focus. If we don't discipline ourselves, what gets our focus? Something we're afraid of, something will give us pain. What's the second thing that gets our focus? If we don't pay attention, something will give us pleasure. It's like, you know what, I'm so stressed out. Oh, that chocolate's looking good. Oh, that, you know, I'm going to go over to have my little coffee, you know, my smoke a mocha doka cream, this thing and that thing, and I'm going to escape for a few moments. Because the focus is how to feel good. How to not feel bad, how to feel good. What's the third thing that gets your focus? Other people's demands. It's not necessarily there are more demands, it's just that we're accessible to more demands. And if you don't know what you want, and you don't know why it's a must for you to achieve it, and you don't have a plan, I can promise you something. You're going to fit in everybody else's plan. And you're going to wonder why you're stressed. And you're going to wonder why I'm not fulfilled. What is time? How do you know when it's a long time, or how do you know when it's a short time? It's not because it's 10 minutes or 10 hours. How many have been in 10 hours and time flew because you loved what you're doing, didn't have any sense of time whatsoever? How many have had that experience? Say aye. How many have had 10 minutes feel like 10 years you want to kill somebody to get out of the situation? So what is time? Time is emotion. Got to remember that. Time is emotion. What you're really managing is emotion. Another word for that would be meaning or fulfillment. Focus is power, but you got to take it. Take it back. Take back that power. And you got to know when you do have that focus, how to chunk it, how to group it so you're not overwhelmed. Let me show you how to make it simpler. When mass information is coming at you, you get overwhelmed. Most of us are great deletion creatures. We delete most of life. Right now, there are millions of things around you could be focusing on, thinking about, giving meanings to, making decisions about what to do. Millions. And when you think about what it's going to take to do something, usually it takes a lot, and you're not going to want to do it. So I'll do it when? Later. As my Australian friends would say, later. Right? And of course, the problem with doing it tomorrow is when you get to tomorrow, tomorrow is today, and tomorrow never comes. So, and you keep promising yourself. By the way, what does this do to you emotionally when you keep breaking your own promises with yourself? Or you keep failing to do things that you know are important? Does it increase your level of certainty and confidence? No. What it does is it erodes it. And when you erode confidence in one area, believe it or not, it affects the other areas too. Do you believe me on that? Don't believe me. What about your own life experience? Maybe not one area, but it starts to be multiple areas. It sure does. Another reason why somebody doesn't exercise or do anything is because they don't just chunk it too big, they chunk it in too many details. So remember this. Remember this. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation. I'll say that again. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation or drive, having strong enough reasons. If you got a strong enough reason, you could figure out the time, couldn't you? So the biggest part of life and time management is knowing what you want and having enough reasons to follow through. But there is one more piece. If you make enough reasons to follow through and you know what you want, but you make the task overwhelming, you'll be overwhelmed. What you focus on, you feel. What you feel, you are moved to somehow actuate. But if you only focus on what you don't want or what's stressful in your life, what you can't control, or what you screwed up on, or what you messed up on in the past, not going to get where you want to be. Chunking is power. You don't want to over chunk where you're trying to bite the whole darn thing together. You also don't want to under chunk where you make a million pieces of something. What is chunking? It's taking all that's coming at you and putting it into idealized size groups that your mind can handle. See, science has proven the human brain, consciously, we can only handle what they call 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information. It's the term that they describe in science, that human beings can only handle 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information at one time, which is a very complex and over-chunked way of saying most people can only handle 5 to 9 things at once. But even the guy that explained it made it very complex. Here's how I tell you. You want to know what chunking is? Chunking to me is how to turn a lot into a little. Most people take a little and turn it into a lot. Exercising, if you're not doing it, you're turning into a lot. If you do it regularly, you turn into something very important, and it's a few things you do. It really is just as many things, it's just what you focus on, right? And when you're doing something and you're following through, you're focusing on the outcome and why it's important to you. How is easy when those 2 first steps are done? The first value thing about chunking is if you take it out of your head and you put it on paper, whether it be electronic paper or physical, you will have done yourself a great favor. Because when you get in your head, you tend to repeat things over and over. You have a hard time organizing it. And the reason is you're using words in your head and images and sounds. Now, if you can take all these thoughts and words and you can put them into a picture's worth 1,000 what? You just chunked your life instantly better when you make something visual on paper, electronic, or physical. Now, I want to explain to you what I mean by chunking in a moment, but I want you to notice that what he's done is told me things all in kind of a random way. And the brain loves pattern recognition. When you recognize a pattern, you feel certain. Oh, someone starts to look like that, I know what that means. Someone starts to say that, I know what that means. When this and this occurs, the business usually does that. I feel successful. Randomness makes us a little crazy. A certain amount of randomness is great, creates variety. Too much randomness, no certainty, which is a human need. And it freaks you out. So he's so random. Now, this is how the brain works. Randomly, while he's doing the laundry, he's going to think of something. Or he's a business, he's going to think about, oh my God, I got to get the cleaning in time because I got to get to that business meeting. How many have these wonderful experiences? Say aye. So as a minimum, we need a way to just capture and get it out of our head. He doesn't even have an effective system for that because the system he has right now is electronic and he doesn't know how to run it properly or it doesn't run effectively. Probably the former rather than the latter. But either way, it doesn't work. He doesn't have certainty. Without certainty, you are going to be stressed. Certainty comes first with the ability to know you can at least capture it. The first step I teach people in RPM is you need a capture system. Something to get it all out of your head and dump it in one place where you know it's really there, so when it's time, you can at least look at it and figure it out. If you don't have one place where it all goes consistently, and that you have access to. If you do it on your computer at work or you do it on your laptop, but by the time you open it and load it and everything else, you don't have time to even put something in because you forgot what it was, then you got a problem, don't you? You need a capture system that's consistent, at least one core place that it's absolutely there. Second step is once we capture, let's say we captured all these things. This is what it really looks like to his brain the way he does it. His brain goes, I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, I gotta do this, and this, I gotta do that, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, and I gotta do this, oh, I gotta do this, oh, this, oh, this, that, this, that, this, that, then this, then that, then this, and that, then this, call this person, do this thing, follow this through, build this thing, do this business plan, get that money, make this thing happen, go there. How many feel stressed in your body? Say aye.
Aye.
So let me tell you what RPM does. You start to look at these things and you say, okay, there's all these things that are important. I've said they're important. I need to take this random stuff that makes me crazy and stressed and find some patterns. Before I figure out what to do, I get to figure out, does all this relate to something I want? He's lost what he wants in his list. And you go, you know what? This thing here, call my friends. Oh yeah, follow up with my friends from the seminar I went to. Oh yeah, coming over here and spending time with my sister. Oh yeah, going and talking to my girlfriend once. Okay, that all relates to one chunk, which is my relationships, let's say. Okay, over here, I need to raise money for this, raise money for that. I gotta put my money and my budget together this, I gotta do this, this, and I gotta do this and this and this. Okay, all of those relate to money. I've just taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 things I had to focus on, and now there are 2 things to focus on. My relationships this week and making progress on the economic side. I'm oversimplifying, but to give you a sense. How many would feel better already?
Yeah, sure. Okay,
and then I come over here and I go, okay, I gotta work out, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do to change my diet, I gotta prepare for that marathon, I don't have to run the 14th mile, but I gotta do this piece here, and I gotta speak to my trainer, and I gotta do this thing here too. Oh, that's all my body. I wanna make major progress this way physically. I may not do all these things, but I'm gonna make progress, because progress equals happiness. Even if you haven't achieved it, if you know you're making measurable progress, you will not feel stressed, you will feel fulfilled. So when I'm in a conversation with somebody, and they're talking about one of my 14 companies, how do I chunk that? Every company I have this metaphor. I say everything, if I were to say to you right now, I want to take every single thing that's in your house and we're going to move you, but here's how we're going to move you. We're going to take everything we have in your house and we're going to just dump it all on the floor of the new house. Just everything you've ever had, we'll dump it right there in this giant living room. And then now you got to organize things. Would you feel stressed? That's what he does. He doesn't even dump it on the living room. He puts it in a place he can't even find the dump. Okay, which is common. Some people put part of the dump here, part of the dump there. They never even know where the whole dump of all the stuff is that they're thinking about is. Now let's assume we did that, but I did one thing. I said to you, get this whole thing organized. You might not even know where to start. It'd be overwhelming. But if I said to you, everything in this room that I've dumped in this room will fit into 12 drawers. 2 chests of drawers. 1, 6 over here that's all personal items. 6 over here that's all professional items. And it's 6 I'm making randomly. You could have 5, you could have 4, you could have 10 if you're really busy. And one of those, for example, is anything relates to finances. One of those, anything relates to my body. One of those, anything relates to family. One of those is relates to anything that affects me emotionally. Right? Go through the whole list. On the professional side, it's anything that relates to marketing, anything to accounting, right? Anything that relates to planning, anything that relates to sales, anything that relates to... Could you, if you knew what these items were, pick up each one and go, okay, that goes there, that one goes there, that one goes there, in a short time, would the entire room be clean? Yes or no? Not only that, but when you needed to focus on something, could you find it? How fast? That's RPM. When you know what you want, that's one thing. When you know why you want it, it changes the emotional quality even more. And I want to tell you something. It's the chunking that is making you think it's so long. But you got to stop the story that you have no time. You have all the time there is. Chunk your life will change. If you want an extraordinary life, it doesn't just happen. You got to create it. The best way to create it is develop a system so it doesn't happen once in a while. When you're lucky, you can count on it like clockwork. Sure stuff's going to interrupt you. Sure stuff's going to stress you, but you know how to get right back on target. And whether it's managing your time or managing your life, they really can't be separated. They go together. If you know what your life's really about, what you value, what's most important to you, not hard to get back on target. If you know what you want, why you want it, you'll come up with a map on how to get it done. If you surround yourself with other people that are committed to having an extraordinary life, it becomes even more easy. And yes, does it take a little more effort? Yes, in the beginning it does. It's called the rapid planning method because once you've done this a little bit, guess what? It's like putting a seminar together. I know there's only 5 things you really got to focus on, or 10 or 12. I start to think about those outcomes, I know why, and boom, everything flows. And all of a sudden, everybody thinks you're a genius when all you are is somewhat focused, organized, and clear. But you still have total flexibility to change your mind, do anything you want to do. You're not locked in place. It's not an anal process. It's art. It's the art of your life.